Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unarmored Talk podcast. I'm your host, Mario P. Fields. It feels good to be back. I mean, we had to take a little bit of break because my lovely bride had some challenges, but it's just like Unarmored Talk, right? Real life conversations, experiencing real life events while living. But today's guest is a Marine veteran, hip hop artist, songwriter, and many, many more. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Barnett, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I appreciate it, brother. I'm glad to be here.
No, thanks. I'm blessed to have you on here, my friend. And before we jump into it, I have him tell a little bit about himself and we go into the topic. Don't forget to go on Apple Podcasts and leave that rating and review. Subscribe to us on the YouTube channel at Mario P. Fields YouTube. And again, if you leave a 1 star or a no star, and I'm good with that. No emotions, right? Accurate thinking. And it just helps us get better as we continue to produce more amazing episodes. Stephen, can you tell the listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself?
Bam. So originally from DC, joined the Marine Corps in 2013. I was in Okinawa for 3 years, and I did 3 years in Hawaii. And I got out. I do music.
Nice. Now, not everybody can do music. I can't do it. I can do this, but I can't do it. So my hat's off to you, man. And my hat's off to you. So let's jump right into the topic, man. It's 2013. I want to say you joined the Marine Corps. You do about seven years. Everything was good to go, right? The first half.
Yeah, the first half was amazing. Right. CLB 31 in Okinawa, Japan. Enjoying going on deployments. Seeing all these different countries, being young and dumb, making mistakes, learning from them. But having that family bond, it was amazing. Even the rough days. I shed tears, I cried, I had family stuff going on. You know what I mean? But it was never really nothing to really be like, this is what I want from the rest of my life. I re-enlisted young, was ready to get back into it.
Yeah. So, but the second half wasn't so fun, if you will. Let's start.
And the second half changed completely. It was like God was playing like, now you have your fun. Like, now it's time to get it. Things changed. The dynamic changed. The environment changed. The people changed. And it was just, it was disheartening. Heavily depressing. You know what I mean? Like, I never showed it, but in my mind, I just thought what was the point.
Wow. Now let's talk about the behaviors and when you were in Okinawa, leadership behaviors, which made it fun. What were some of the people, the leaders, doing that you would wake up every day, come to work, and go, this is fun? What was their behaviors?
I mean, they knew their job. Let's start there. That's the biggest piece. They knew what they were doing, so they were able to teach you, able to coach you, able to mentor and things like that. So, you had that big brother type leadership. There was bad leaders, but you really kind of gaffed them off. Like you laughed at them. You know what I mean? You didn't, if they were talking to you, you stood there, you took it. But if they weren't talking to you, you kind of laughed at them, you just did your business. It wasn't the same over here. Over here, they drive into you and they get you, they pull you.
Yeah. So you're in CLB 31 Okinawa, and like you said, a lot of the leaders, they were competent.
Yes, 100%.
They knew their job, and then they took the time to help. Like, it was genuine, as that's what I'm hearing you say.
100% genuine. 100% genuine. If it wasn't, you couldn't tell.
Right.
You got busy and got it done.
Yeah. So then you get to your next duty station. And I don't want to assume that it's Unarmored Talk, going to be more accurate. From their behavior, for what you were observing, it seemed like a lot of the senior leaders weren't as competent as the first duty station. Is that what I'm hearing?
It wasn't. They weren't. You know what I mean? And if they were, it was solely based on the job. Forget everybody else that exists, the Marines, and whether they have to eat, go to the bathroom, whatever. None of that existed. It was just a job. And then over time it got worse to where they weren't competent at their job at all.
So how did that affect you as you was a sergeant, right?
Yes, sir.
So how did that affect you mentally, knowing that you have people that are over you, but you feel, right, you believe because of their leadership behavior, they don't care about you or anyone else per se, and you could tell that they're not that competent in their jobs because you got a reference point right over it from your previous unit. How did that mentally affect you as a sergeant?
It turned me off to the Marine Corps completely. it shut the Marine Corps. Like I immediately started. I had 2 years left. I started immediately figuring out what I wanted to do. Starting going to college and figuring out how to do resumes and those things. I felt depressed. You know what I mean? Like 100% depressed. So I turned to other things. To get myself back and remember who I am or figure out who I was at the time. But as far as the leadership, the mentor, and the motivation, it was gone completely.
Wow. And did that impact you? How did that change the way you led your junior Marines?
That didn't change because I didn't have a choice. You know what I mean? It was my job to be their big brother, their mentor, their leader, like somebody was for me. So though, internally, I'm frustrated at leadership or whatever, I couldn't take that out on them. You know what I mean? Marines are going to do dumb stuff regardless. It's just natural, especially junior Marines. But for me, that's still somebody's child that I'm responsible for. Those are lives that I'm responsible for. So the leadership from me had to be the same. But when looking up, there was nothing to look up to.
Yeah, and I like, Stephen, I like how you say you made the choice because a lot of people, I believe, don't realize that a lot of humans right around the globe, we have a freedom of choice. We can choose things, just like Unarmored Talk, right? You can choose to accurately think or not and just emotionally respond. And so I like how you reference how you chose to continue to mentor, coach, and give your time to your junior Marines, even though you weren't receiving that. That is interesting. Did that dynamic, right, where you're providing your junior Marines this world-class, right, behavior service, if you will, leadership service, but you're not receiving it. Did that frustrate you? Did that make you, use alcohol more? How did you cope with that?
I definitely use alcohol, just naturally, not like drinking and driving or anything like that, but just naturally we'll go out to the pub or have a couple drinks or whatever. But it just made me, realize that, okay, I can't sugarcoat anything. I can't pretend, they'll tell you, oh, don't let the Marines see X, Y, and Z. Everybody saw everything. There's no secrets when you're working at the company. That's where the gossip and all that jazz comes from. So it was really more so just making sure they understood where I stood as far as leadership, went and goes, and how I was going to do the best of my ability, do my job, and teach them as much as I can, no matter what's going on up top or with my peers and stuff like that. But definitely drank alcohol more. I was out a lot. I was still young, so I was out a lot, going to the clubs and all of those things, but they eventually got boring.
And at any time, did you feel, that, what, maybe some of the senior leaders don't understand what's going on, and
100%.
maybe I should try to tell them or educate them? Did that ever happen? And if it did,
yes.
What emotions did you experience before you made that decision?
So at that point of the conversations, when it came to leadership and whatnot, I was very blunt and straightforward. Like, you're not going to tell me, somebody who's, quote unquote, mastering leadership, I'm actually putting forth the effort. You're not going to tell me what we're going to do or what we're going to, as far as when it came to the Marines, like I wasn't going for that. So I stood my ground and I wasn't disrespectful, but we'd have conversations and we'd definitely have words. If it's something I had to stand on, I had to stand on as a man. You're a man before Marine. That's what we were taught. So that's how I carry myself at all times.
Any nervousness or any fear of?
Oh no, I don't fear anybody, especially when they're incompetent. That doesn't.
So you experience no fear as an emotion at all?
No fear at all when
impressive.
It came down to that, because for me, you have to build a legacy. See, the way that I'm talking strong and I'm saying what I'm saying, I can talk this way because I built the legacy and had a leg to stand on. So, take a situation where my master sergeant came at me wrong and it didn't work out for him. And, I got sent to the battery office. Nothing came of it because people know who I am, and I built that legacy and built myself to be able to have conversations with anybody cordially. But if it goes left, it goes left. And I just got to accept the consequences that come.
No, that's a great point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because we have a lot of listeners and viewers that they're not in that position, right? The emotion of fear in their jobs, with management and people in management positions over them, they experience a lot of fear with approaching them to tell them things that they know they may not want to hear. So as far as that point goes, what advice could you give the listeners and viewers who may experience fear of how to approach someone and explain to them that their behavior may not be as good as they think they are?
Mm-hmm. Yes, 100%. You have to self-check. You have to check yourself. You pick, say you're missing, there's 3 areas that you need to work on, but they may be not minute areas. Okay. Now you got to look at how do you approach the situation. You always got to do it with respect. Unless you built, like I said, you don't have a leg to stand on, don't fight. As simple as that. If you haven't built a legacy for yourself where you're able to competently have a conversation with somebody, or intellectually have a conversation with somebody, or criticize them, so to speak, if you don't have that leg to stand on, don't do it. You have to pick and choose your battles. But, even if you can't say anything right now, work towards being able to. You can work on yourself and put yourself in a position where, okay, I wasn't able to say anything 6 months ago, but now we're back on track. Let's talk about it. And you cordially, handle that business. It's different, obviously in the military compared to in the civilian world. In the civilian world, you can't really talk crazy. We talk. We definitely talk.
Well, no. Thanks for sharing, and I like how you essentially highlighted, that don't give up, right? Be patient, and sometimes it may not be the right time to address an issue,
100%.
Or it may be an issue in your eyes, but not an issue in their eyes. But continue to think through things and not emotionally respond to the situation at hand. So, can you give me an example of an event that occurred where now that you're out and you're looking back and you're reflecting back on that experience, there was more of an emotional response or reaction than accurate thinking through that event?
And that's a great point to highlight. Before I explain that, when something happens, reacting versus responding are 2 different things. When you react, and a reaction is an emotional response. A response is a thought out process where you make a decision. There's a big difference. But the example I'll use, especially now that I'm out, my boys over, at Kaneohe Bay, there was an incident in the barracks, a fight. Happens all the time. The fight was, reported and whatnot. The MPs came, all that.
I was gonna say I fought my pillow this morning, so you ain't lying.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So the MPs came, did what they had to do, but the leadership decided that to put an extra rover or extra 2 rovers on for 6 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're still doing that to this day. To me, that's an emotional response and a poor decision. So
in this affray, right, this mutual affray or this fight or whatever occurred in the barracks, did anyone get injured?
I mean, not hospitalized. They weren't.
Right. So
nobody went to jail. It wasn't that big. It was an incident that was reported, taken care of, boom, boom.
But no serious injuries.
No, not that I know.
Okay, no serious injuries. No one got put on light duty.
Nope. I checked all those boxes, asked all those questions.
And
how many times has this happened? All those boxes I checked.
And accurately speaking, there was maybe over a couple of hundred that live in the barracks. A couple of hundred.
Just about 100, 130, 100. Something
okay.
Like that.
Okay. So
small barracks, small.
So a fight breaks out, and the reaction and response that you saw from the changes from the top, the top leaders was to put more security, right? More rovers, more security to prevent fights.
Stealing. I don't know what the idea of it is.
Okay, yeah.
I don't understand it. 7 days a week. There's a difference between, Friday and Saturday when things go down, you might have extra security, to make sure nothing happens because Marines get drunk, do dumb stuff. Cool, no big deal. But 7 days a week, you got an 18, 19-year-old PFC fresh in the Marine Corps walking around in a square for 6 hours.
So,
come on.
So how did that decision impact the other 100 and we'll just say 10 that was probably had no idea there was a fight.
They hate it. You know what I mean? There's these kids, like, I'm seeing them walking around like, hey, you know why you doing this? No, I heard blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, how do you feel about it? I feel useless. I feel like, what was the point of this? You know, it's not a closed environment. It's not, you know, where you can't see upstairs or can't see anything. This is a square, you know, facility that's open. You can see everything. You can hear everything. So they feel useless. They're depressed. The morale there is absolutely 100%, you know, just bad. It's 100% negative. You know, they drink through it. And it's nothing that I can, you know, I give them tips, I give them advice, and I always check up on them and whatnot, but I can't help that. They go through it every day. You know, one of them, there's another example, the Marine was supposed to go on to do bigger and better things. His leadership called the monitor who's in charge of where he goes and delayed his orders. So now he's stuck here for another 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, yeah. So no, great. Thank you for giving that example. And so, because the question I have now is now that we have a live, an experience that occurred. If you had to make a decision, right, and you had to accurately think through that event, and you got all the information you can get, what thoughtful decision would you have made in that situation?
100%. If my hand was forced, as in there were other incidents that's tied into this that maybe those guys aren't telling me. 100%, you add a rover on the weekend, the Fridays and Saturday nights, you know, you add a rover, you add an extra protection, and you call it a day. You know, it's an incident. Something happened, take care of it, it's done with. That'd be it for me. You know, personally, I'd have just handled the people that were involved, and that was it. But, you know, I'd rather look at it from their point of view. Like, if my hand was forced, the farthest I would probably go is definitely adding a rover on Fridays and Saturdays, you know, the days when things go down, not every single day, because of the impact that has.
Yeah. And Stephen, I like how you know, a lot of times what I've seen is there's an event that happens, and accurately, right, there's a lot of people who will make decisions based off of inaccurate information or limited.
100%.
Limited. And I like how you talked about the limited information that you have today, or if you would have been in a position of authority per se, you would have gathered more information to make a decision, but you would have focused on the two individuals in that event. And then how could you work through that event and what decisions to make to help educate and get past that event with those two individuals, or if there's more involved. Not 100%. Not react to, well, there was a fight, so now the entire unit is going to feel right emotionally.
And that's a weird thing, because you know, if you've been in for X amount of years, how many incidents have you been privy to? How many things have you seen and heard of, to where a random fight happens and you have to assert your authority so hard at a place where, you know, Marines have a cubicle. That's what their rooms are, a little cubicle where they share a shower, they share a bathroom, that type of thing. And you're going to come to their little cubicle and make their life even worse. I don't understand it.
And I got to fight my pillow this morning. I had to insert some authority, and I had to get out of my emotions. Now I'm just but no, it's good. Great point. And that's why I'm glad you're on the show. We're talking through this because I believe you're doing a great job with highlighting if the life events occur as soon as we wake up, 100%. and we can't stop emotions. But if we accurately think through things, then we could actually increase the outcome, influence the outcome, and not limit the outcome, because what you just highlighted, it was pretty much a limited outcome. There was a fight, and now this is what we're going to do, and it's over.
Yep, 100%.
And are there still fights?
No. Not at all.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, did the decision, did the emotional from your story, did that decision, did it prevent any other fights? or have there ever been more scuffles with Rovers?
Nope, nothing. It's,
So
it's it's one of those things. You make a decision and you have to live with it. And I understand that, and everybody has to live with decisions that are made, but we don't think about the outcomes. We don't accurately think about the decisions we make and that others make and how it affects us. And when something does affect us, your thought process will determine, it can determine, I should say, the outcome of the situation. If you're putting negative connotations onto an already negative situation, what do you think is going to happen? Versus you thinking through and accepting what is and then deciding how to move from there.
yeah. So you ended up doing about 7 years. You made the choice, to get out after that experience. Looking back, if you would have had the same people in your first unit, in your second unit, and what I mean by that is their behaviors were very positive, enthusiastic, right? It made you feel like they cared, and it made you give more than what you thought you was capable of giving. If you would have had that same group of people or people with similar behaviors in that second unit, you think you would have stayed in?
Oh, 100%, because I would have never turned alternative, methods. Started school, started comedy. Once I did stand-up comedy, and that got boring for me because I understand now that they were practicing the jokes over and over to find out how to deliver them, but to me that was boring. It's like, come with something new. And that's how I got into music. One thing led to another. So if I was, had privy to the leadership that I had in the beginning, I wouldn't have touched anything because I'd have been so focused on work. The Marine Corps was my first wife, you know what I mean? So everything was devoted to that.
Yeah. Well, you looking at you, I mean, I've been watching, I've been, following, stalking you right on social media, but looking at you today, I mean, again, the hip hop artist, songwriter, and you've, to me, from just my belief, you have transitioned well after 7 years of honorable and faithful service to the Marine Corps and our nation. Is there any last words, remarks, piece of advice that you can give our listeners and viewers, my friend?
100%. The one thing I tell everybody is when you find your place when you accept the world for what it is and see the world for what it is, you'll find your place in it. Don't fight to have a purpose and whatnot. Just take your battles as they go. Love yourself, grow, be self-aware, grow, and grow. And help somebody along the way 100%. The impact that I've made while I was just being myself. I had not, it wasn't anything forcing me to quote unquote be a good leader or be a sergeant. I was just being myself, doing what I was taught and wasn't those things. But the impact it has made, transitioning to where I'm doing music and I go to Cali and I can still go to Pendleton, pick up my friends and they can be in the music videos. And, guys that I served with here who were in supply and whatnot, they were in the last music video. So, just definitely see the world for what it is and find your place in it.
And how can people find you?
You can find us at, Instagram, YBK808, Young Black Kings on all platforms, especially YouTube. Subscribe. Boom. Check out Till Valhalla. That was one of the songs for those we lost. And, I definitely want to shout out. Please subscribe. Please follow this podcast. Unarmored Talk is a great podcast, and it talks about accurately thinking and how to, set yourself up for success. We all talk about it and, drown it in sugarcoat, fillers and whatnot. But seriously, like, Mario, I appreciate you. I appreciate you and the impact that you've made and the impact that we're making together, brother.
No, I appreciate it too. And ladies and gentlemen, again, subscribe to his YouTube channel. Wonderful, wonderful piece of work you guys put together. Yeah, on that song, man. I tell you, it was very powerful. And ladies and gentlemen, y'all heard it from Steven. You heard it from Steven. Again, the impact of your leadership behaviors could make a change in someone's life, right? I didn't say good or bad, but it will change someone. A lot of times you just don't know. You may not know how it will impact that person. And in closing, self-awareness, Steven, you said it best, at the end of the day, right? It starts with you. And being self-aware and being able to self-reflect on your life and your behaviors can change your perspective on the world, right?
Especially self-reflection. Man, I do it once a month. Once a month, I just get sad and just think about life.
I'm telling you. No, that's great. Well, hey, God bless you, man. And I'll be continuing to root for you. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you later.